Yes, team, welcome to another episode of the Jake O'Connor, the High Functioning Addiction podcast. Today, I've got a very interesting and special guest. I'm going to let Thyag introduce himself. But first of all, mate, I just want to say thank you for jumping on all the way from Cape Town.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jake. Really appreciate you inviting me onto your podcast. My name is Thyag Satgoor. I'm currently based in Cape Town, South Africa. So a little bit about my background and who am I. I'm a former corporate guy. I grew my career in the United States. So I left South Africa when I was 19 years old. I had an opportunity to live and work in the US. I specifically was focused in the hospitality industry. So I worked for brands like Walt Disney World, Universal Studios, Lowe's Hotels, and Hard Rock International. And my primary focus there was part of the creative teams designing food and beverage experiences from corporates to weddings, and then also overseeing their restaurants and bar experiences at the resorts at Disney as well as the Universal destinations. Fast forward to 2021, COVID happened, and I transitioned into the wellness space. My position was eliminated. He said it was a hospitality role, and with everything going on with COVID. But it was a good push for me because I was pretty much done with my role about 5 years before that, funny enough. But like many, I was very comfortable and I just stayed in my position. So COVID was a catalyst that really pushed me to the next level and gave me some food for thought. So I was here in South Africa when COVID happened, and I was actually locked down for about 8 months. I had come for my cousin's wedding, and the day before I could fly out back to the US, literally everything got locked down. So I got to spend about 8 months with my family, and during that time it gave me an opportunity to reassimilate with South Africa as a country and get to know the country again, because I'd been away for about 21 years living in the US. I would travel to the country and obviously visit my family, but when you're visiting for about 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, you don't quite connect with them. You know what I'm saying? You're here for a holiday, you say hi, you have a couple of meals together. I mean, obviously it's all lovey-dovey, but this opportunity really immersed myself in the country for about 8 months, and got to reconnect with my family at a different level. They got to know me a little bit better as I with them. And after that 8 months, I returned back to the US. I was in a relationship. However, my partner and I, we both recognized that we were both moving on two different paths. I had gone down the spiritual path, and the spiritual pool had been a stronger essence for me. And I think also in that relationship, we had both done our time, and we had both achieved what we needed to achieve and learn from each other, most importantly. We still are very good friends after that relationship, which I think is key to this whole healing journey as well. And so sold my house, sold all of my major personal belongings, moved into my cousin's apartment in Tampa, and was literally staying on a couch. I had just turned 40 years old, and I was looking at, okay, what's next for me? I've got all of these really cool experiences from a corporate background, but what really inspires me and fuels my soul. So I had been practicing hot yoga, specifically Bikram yoga, which is a sequence of 26 postures and 2 breathing exercises, even in my corporate role. So that I found to be quite profoundly healing from a personal accident that I had been through, but also just from a mental clarity standpoint in my day-to-day interactions with my personal life, but also within my professional life. I found it to be quite relaxing in terms of letting go of my day and resetting my body, my mind, etc. So I had started practicing and continued my practice while staying at my cousin's home in Tampa. I was going to a hot yoga studio there, and in observing the teachers, I was like, you know what, I can really do this. I started looking up yoga teacher trainings, and I found one which was in Thailand. I flew out to Thailand for about 6 weeks, completed a proper Bikram yoga teacher training there, which was pretty intensive. I got to learn a lot about myself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually in that journey and being in that yoga bubble. And then after that 6 weeks, I was supposed to return to the States and come and teach yoga. There were a few opportunities that presented themselves at a few different studios. But I decided to stay on in Thailand. The world was changing, I was changing, and so I ended up living in Thailand for about a year, but I also picked up other modalities of healing. So I also completed a yin yoga course, as well as a Himalayan Sound Bowl therapy course, so working with sound bowls. I also teach meditation and breathwork encapsulated into these various modalities of healing. So now post Thailand, I ended up traveling and teaching around the world. I just really wanted to hone in on my skills. And what's really cool about the Bikram yoga practice is there are several studios around the world, and there are opportunities to partner with these studios in a traveling teacher capacity. And I ended up landing in Vienna, teaching at Bikram Yoga Vienna and Schottland, which was a really cool experience. And then from there, bounced around to Slovakia, to Ireland, Italy, and then ended up in East Africa, then South Africa, and now I'm based in Cape Town. So that's kind of my little story in a quick nutshell. So former corporate guy, transitioning now into a wellness mindset and focus. Currently, I teach at a couple of different yoga studios, but I also host my own events. So I do sound therapy, I do one-on-one training, coaching, and I also partner with corporate organizations looking to implement health and wellness programs for their teams, to help them be better at what they do from a professional standpoint, and as well as personal standpoint.
Yeah, mate, I absolutely love that. And we connected when I was in Cape Town a few weeks ago, and I went to your Hot 26 and 2, and then I booked onto the Himalayan Sound Healing as well. And mate, I'm gonna say, like, the Himalayan Sound Healing was amazing. It was amazing. Like, I was so excited to get you on because, like, I've had a yoga teacher on here before, but I've never had someone that does sound healing as well. And I myself am quite into it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've only done it a few times, but even like last night, I had the telly on and I had some sound bowl therapy healing thing, and I was just lying there just chilling, and it was just so nice. But your experience was amazing because the sound baths that I've been to before, they've been like stationary. They've never really like moved around the room. They've kind of like stayed in one place, and the sound obviously travels to you. Whereas I could feel you coming over me and kind of doing the bowls like actually like over my body, and it was just incredible. Such an incredible experience. Before we kind of move on to where you are today, I like to kind of work along a timeline, really, like where you were and kind of where you've kind of got to today. So with your corporate role, how did you find the yoga and the sound healing benefited your corporate role? Do you feel like you maybe performed better when you started working and started doing yoga and practicing yoga and the mindfulness and stuff like that? Because there's going to be a lot of people that are listening that are maybe in a corporate role or a sales role or something, and they're maybe looking to get this kind of like competitive edge or something like that, right? So yeah, what was your experience on that?
Yeah, man. So for me, getting into yoga was twofold. Number one, I had been in a very bad car accident in 2010, US, where I got ejected from my vehicle, and I had experienced some extremely hectic body trauma. So broke my neck, my back, so fractured my spine in several places. My sternum was fractured, lungs collapsed, a lot of internal organ bruising, etc. So I'd done a little bit of physiotherapy, but nothing to the extent of what I really needed to do to bounce back. And in 2017, my cousin was visiting me from Australia. His name is Taryn, and he had been practicing the Hot 26 sequence in Australia pretty consistently. And so he suggested to me, hey, he was living with me for about 3 months. He had come on an extended holiday, and he was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Come with me, give it a shot. So I said, okay, I'll go in with you. And I gave it a shot. And, literally after about a month's time, I started to notice things within my body starting to change. So initially I went in from a physicality standpoint to lose some weight and to get fit. But what I started to notice was, because my body had experienced so much of trauma from the car accident, that there is literally a layer of skin around the body called fascia. And this layer of skin had become extremely tight in certain areas, so around my neck, my shoulders, around my chest area. So if you stood behind me and you called my name, I had to literally turn my whole body to acknowledge you. And through the practice of going through these yoga exercises and poses in the hot room, what was starting to happen was slowly that fascia was literally starting to melt and move away, and literally dissolve, if you will. And one day somebody just called my name, and I literally turned my head and I was like, whoa, wait a minute here. What just happened? And so it was like a gradual relearning of my body again. But to answer your specific question as it relates to the corporate environment, what I found was, look, everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. And I started to learn a little bit more about this through consistency with the practice, right? What was starting to happen to me was energetically in my day-to-day role, both on a personal standpoint and professional standpoint, you get hit with so many different scenarios and situations that can be stressful. And the best way for me to describe at the end of the day, when I would go into this hot yoga class, which you've obviously experienced, it was like being in a washing machine. So I would literally take my body through these 26 poses and these 2 breathing exercises and literally wash it out energetically from the stress of the day. You're sweating profusely in that class, so you're getting a physical detox. And then also what starts to happen, and I know with what you do from a hypnotherapy standpoint, and with a lot of people who deal with challenging situations and especially with trauma, they start to disassociate from the body. And yoga, and including the sound therapy, is really, really a beautiful way for you to start to make that mind body connection again, which is what we need for the healing process to start to happen. And so from a corporate standpoint, literally, I would go in, feel really refreshed, re-energized, rejuvenated after a long day. Similarly, on my personal lifestyle as well, my partner and them, they were extremely happy with the way I would show up in a healthy way. But if I had gone, or I had not practiced yoga for 2 to 3 days, and I even up until now too, because of the consistency of it, I become a little bit irritated. Like, I'm like, oh man, or I might feel maybe a little bit more low energy, or because I need that movement to really connect with myself, be it for the hour or the 90 minutes, to just really reset. But also, most importantly, it's just taking time for me. It's an opportunity for me to connect with me, showing up on my yoga mat. What's great about this particular type of practice is there's a mirror in front of you. So the only person that you really going to battle with or having compassion with at the end of the day is yourself. So you look at yourself, you look at your body, and you just listen to the words from the teacher guiding you into your body. And so you just shut off from what was just happening or what's about to happen before or after your class, and you just allow yourself to just zone into this practice. So yeah, I found it to be profoundly healing, but also resetting from a personal standpoint, but also in my professional.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And I know that you touched on the kind of addiction correlation there. I actually recommend to my clients to go to some form of yoga or somatic intervention or technique or whatever you want to call it, right? Because a lot of my work is somatic work. So it's about connecting with the mind and the body. And a lot of trauma and emotions and stuff are stored in the body, right? Like an emotion is energy in motion. So it's about connecting with your body and understanding, like, where do you feel this in your body? And even that awareness of even knowing where this emotion is lying is so important to actually tackling the emotional barrier that is actually fueling the addiction. So when you are thinking about yoga or sound healing, like, what kind of benefits do you feel like yoga or sound healing has for addiction? Like, for anyone that's listening, that's kind of going through an addiction journey at the moment, and they're like, oh, I've kind of heard this yoga thing is kind of good, or maybe they've never even heard of sound healing before, and they're going through an addiction or going through a difficult time. What would you say to them? Like, what would the benefits be?
Yeah, man. So, obviously, when anybody's going through any kind of trauma, there is this little bit of a lot of a disassociation to the body. There's this a lot of this external function that's happening, and when you start to practice yoga, you start to make this mind-body connection, as I had mentioned earlier. As you had also mentioned, it is a great complement to traditional therapies as well. And you hit the nail on the head, doing somatic body work and really reconnecting with your body in that way is profoundly powerful versus having that disassociation when you're typically going through a tough traumatic experience. Specifically, the benefits that I would say when practicing yoga, and specifically the hot yoga. So the way I like to describe the hot yoga is a lot of people are doing ice baths and cold plunges and familiar with the Wim Hof method, etc. So I like to describe hot yoga as the opposite to the cold therapy. So number one, you are detoxifying the body, being in this heated environment, but it's a controlled environment. You're sweating. And not only are you moving your body from a physicality standpoint, what starts to really happen is you're actually massaging your glands, your organs, and you're opening up different neural pathways that you may not have necessarily been accustomed to, practicing not necessarily in a heated room. Right? So in the heated environment, you also got to learn to calm your nervous system apart from the detoxification. So you got to connect with your breathing to help regulate your nervous system down. So you get your detoxification. Then obviously there's a certain level of discipline that needs to happen, discipline and routine. This all just doesn't happen in one yoga class. And specifically with the hot yoga classes, I always tell my students that, I recommend a 3 to 4 week, 4 day consistent practice each week. And the rationale behind that is if you practice it once a week and you keep coming once a week, it's almost like you're going through your first class again and your body doesn't have enough. So you're just giving your body enough time to recover and then figure itself out. And then you come and you shock it again every week. So you're literally defeating the purpose by not having that frequency. So with a 3 to 4 minimum 3 class frequency per week, you start to develop a certain level of discipline, accountability to yourself, and then you will start to notice other aspects starting to transform within yourself. So physically, yes, you will start to transform. Then you will notice there's a mental aspect starting to happen. And then you start to notice there's almost like this meditation aspect that happens. And then, so I highlighted detoxification, the discipline aspect. I would say the next aspect would be body awareness, because you start to make this beautiful mind-body connection that you may have disassociated with when you went through whatever that traumatic experience is. Many people who are recovering in a trauma, they have this disassociation with the body, but then you slowly start to feel things in your body. Like I had mentioned, I couldn't move my neck with all of that actual physical trauma on me, but slowly it started to melt away. And then I was like, wow, after a short space of time, things started to happen. And then I would say the other aspect would be is emotional release. Whether you know it or not, as you had mentioned, emotions are energy in motion. And now what you're doing is you are in a controlled environment for 1 hour that you're able to release these emotions through these yoga poses, through the breath work that you're doing, through the heat. So everything in there is an exact science for you to go into yourself for an hour and to disassociate in a healthy way from the world, but giving yourself a opportunity to be with yourself. So that's, I would say the 4 key points would be detoxification, discipline, body awareness, and then emotional.
Yeah, perfect. I absolutely love yoga at the moment. Like I go 3 times a week, and honestly, like I was probably one of those people that were like, oh, yoga, like whatever. And then like I started going, and I was like, and now I'm actually really starting to see the benefits. Like I actually enjoy going. It's my form of, well, where I do what I do, obviously a lot of my work is thinking and mindset and all of that, right? So you can easily fall into the trap of actually losing that mind-body connection. So part of the reason why I go is to obviously A, have some time for myself, but B is to reconnect with myself and have that mind-body connection and just have that time as me, and to park everything to one side for an hour, turn the phone off, and just be with myself on the mat. And it's so important for your personal development to be able to go through something like that. It really is life changing. I absolutely love it. And I do personally believe that anyone going through an addiction should start going to yoga. And there's a book called Recovery 2.0. Have you heard of it before? Yeah, cool. So there's a guy called Tommy Rosen, and he is like an addiction coach, but he's also a yoga teacher as well. And he talks about a holistic approach to recovery from addiction. Talks about the yoga, the nutrition, the obviously the emotional work, like the therapy and stuff like that, and lots of other different routes And I personally believe, like, if we can all try and implement like one route of this of this kind of recovery holistic approach, then yeah, you're setting yourself up for a good recovery journey for sure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, movement is truly medicine, and a lot of people don't quite make that correlation. And it doesn't necessarily happen initially when you start, but the consistency is key. And you got to find what works for you. Look, I found hot yoga to be profoundly healing for me based on my own personal and physical ailments that I've had. But there's people that go into what they call so runners, right? They call it a runner's high. In order to get to that runner's high, it's almost you create this rhythmic motion with your body, your breathing, and then all of a sudden it's just a. And so there's different sports that you could be doing or different movement techniques that can get you to the space of essential natural bliss, if you will. But it does take consistency, find out what works for you. As I said, hot yoga ended up working for me. It challenges me physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually every time I go in there. But I love the intensity of how it, detoxifies me inside. But you got to just figure out what works for you. But what biggest feedback behind that, because with the consistency, so again, I'll correlate it to hot yoga because that's what I do. When I started becoming consistent at the hot yoga, and then what I started to do is I now live my life around yoga, if that makes sense. And so what I mean by that is if I know I'm practicing 3 times a week in this heated environment and with this level of intensity, what started to happen is the yoga started to show me, hey, if I go and have a huge steak the night before, or you drink wine or big, and then you want to go into the yoga class the next morning, the yoga class is going to tell you, bro, you're not going to feel great, or you're not going to be giving it your best that you would normally do. So what I started to find is if I maintain this consistency, and then slowly my body would even tell me, like I would, like on a, because the intensity of the heat, there's certain days where I'll be like, I just want to eat watermelon. Or I want to have a piece of salmon. And when I listen to my body telling me that that's what it wants, it like literally lights up, and then you start to see that the healing process starts to happen. So it's like it's very subtle, these little things that start to happen, but your body starts to speak to you because of the consistency. And then you starting to listen to things that you would not typically be listening to. You know what I'm saying? Like, so say for example, you start getting cramps, you'd be like, oh, I need to get some salt or some electrolytes in my system in order to sustain my workout. If you're going to a hot yoga class in the afternoon, during the day, I will be hydrating consistently. I'm not going to hydrate and drink a liter of water in the yoga class because then it's too late to hydrate. So it's like these little details that start to happen within you. So I started eating more healthy, drinking, more water to sustain my workout. And when I showed up for myself on that yoga mat and doing all these other things that my body was asking for, my class was amazing. I mean, it was just like taken to the next level. So it's subtle, but it happens through consistency again. And that's been my mantra to not only my students, to anybody who's on a recovery path, is consistency is key.
Yeah, and I think it's also transferable into just general life, to be honest, as well. Like my partner's just come back from Bali, as you know, and she was on a retreat, and she had like a vegan diet, no meat, no like, I don't know, fizzy drink, like nothing. It was a full detox, a full strip. And she's come home and she's mentioned that she doesn't even really want to eat meat that much now. She's really conscious of what she eats and what she puts in her body, and the lifestyle. They call it the yoga lifestyle, right? Or the yogic, or kind of the yogi lifestyle, I think it is. And that rubs off on the people around you as well, which is a positive thing. It's like a positive ripple effect that you're having around your loved ones, how you're living your life, limiting your phone use, limiting your red meat, limiting your meat in general, limiting X, Y, and Z. And I absolutely love that lifestyle and that approach. Like there's just the cleanliness, mindfulness, the connection within yourself. And when you are truly connected with yourself, you are you, and nothing can take that away from you. No substance, no addictive behavior. Like, you don't want to alter your mind or your body because you're happy within yourself. And that's
Yes.
what I try and teach my clients and get them to a place of, you are good. Like, everything is okay. This doesn't need to, it doesn't need to be like this, but obviously there's a reason why they're getting pulled in. But I think the correlation between the kind of yogic lifestyle and the work that I do is massive. It really, really is important.
So what you're saying is really important, and the work you are obviously doing is important as well. But so I'll give you something to kind of correlate with, right? So there's a big word being used right now, which is trauma, and we all recognize that we have trauma within us, experience of life and coming into this life. So when you look at the yogic philosophy, when we would look at trauma and use a different word. Instead of saying trauma, we'll call it karma. So we all have different levels of karma that happens in this lifetime. When we're born into this life, we don't know, we don't choose our parents. We believe from a yogic philosophy standpoint that you come into a family or into a lifestyle based on your karma. And so, in order for you to release and burn that karma or trauma, one of the ways to do that is yoga. And hatha yoga exercises, which is heats up the body, helps release that trauma. Hence, when we started earlier, I used the analogy of being like in a washing machine, washing yourself inside and out. And then so essentially, when you're coming into a yoga class and you're practicing hatha yoga, and we don't get too philosophical on this piece because everybody's so focused on the movement. But with consistency, again, it's also a self-realization process, because you can't always be spoon-fed all this information, right? Some of it got to come to it within yourself. As you know, in the recovery process, the first step is recognizing you've got an issue, right? And so it's the same thing, when you correlate karma and trauma and how to burn that and change that within yourself, yoga, movement, whatever you choose can help release that within yourself. And then that starts to create a healthy, positive cycle, with the food you eat, with the people you surround yourself with. And I didn't quite go into this earlier. Before becoming very consistent with my yoga practice in 2017. Prior to that, I led a very unhealthy lifestyle. And part of it was not knowing from, just what you get blasted with from commercials and advertisements. And, you're young and you think you're invincible as well. But I found that working also in the hospitality, while I had a great ride there, I also ate very unhealthily. I would be entertaining clients consistently. So, eating great meals, but never quite had a balance. Food can be an addiction, or is an addiction as well. Many people have issues with that. So I had to learn how to find a healthy balance. So believe it or not, I weighed almost 98 kilos at one point, at my heaviest weight. I would drink almost every evening glasses of wine, big piece of meat, or whatever it is. But I never quite incorporated the movement aspect with the lifestyle that I was leading. And then once I started to complement it, like I said, in 2017, when I was having my aha moment, I went to a doctor and I was doing my annuals. I was 37 years old, and they did a blood test and they're like, you pre-diabetic. And I'm like, no. My grandma, when I heard diabetes, it's like my grandparents, people who are older, not a 37-year-old, and I'm not even 40. So I just said, okay, I'm going to make a lifestyle change. And with that lifestyle change, friends started to fall away that, were not conducive to this new way of being. And started watching and listening to better things. So it's not only the food you put in, it's the people, your surroundings, etc., that goes with it. So yeah.
It is, yeah. I was just making a note of it because I didn't want to forget. I wanted to make a point on the friends falling away side of things, because this is going to land for a lot of people listening. Because in a evolution of someone that's in an addiction, wanting recovery, there's this messy bit in the middle where they kind of know they've got a problem. They want to live this new life, but there's this bit in the middle where they like don't really what they've got kind of got one foot in here and one foot in here. And they've got some friends that maybe live that old lifestyle still, or they are still hooked to social media, or they're still drinking, or they're still eating crap, or whatever. And then this new life is the lifestyle that we're talking about, right? This messy part in the middle, because I definitely experienced it, the loneliness, the self-doubt, the have I made the right decision? I've left all my friends behind. Where are my new friends going to be? What's this new life going to look like? I'm scared. I'm lonely. All of this, right? I'm sure you experienced it as well, Thyag. But like, for someone that is in that exact kind of sticky situation that I just described, what advice would you give them?
I think you got to be true to you. I think as you now going into this journey of a new level of awareness, again, when you're dealing with addiction and with trauma, you typically don't necessarily put yourself first. And now with all of this consistency of your yoga practice or whatever you are incorporating into your lifestyle of a new way of being, and you see the transformation and the change happening within you, stick with it and be comfortable and confident with it. And remember that you are putting yourself first now. And friends will either be there or they will fall away. My answer or easiest answer to your question would be is if you are feeling lonely or this transition that's happening with your friends, instead of going and hanging out with your friends, just go and do a yoga class, is what I would say. Because what will start to eventually happen is you will build a new circle of people and new like-minded people. And what I say to people is, as it relates to your friends, right? What's starting to happen is you leveling up, and your friends are not leveling up or not ready to meet you just yet where you are, and that's okay. And I'm not saying you disassociate from them and you don't be their friend, but what you can do is you now maintain a healthy distance from them. So I've got friends in this healing journey that I may have not spoken to in about a year or 2 years in this messy point that you were describing. But then I have actually reconnected with them now, maybe in about 2 years' time. Maybe they've observed my social media or whatever it is, or we just reconnected by chance. And what I've observed is sometimes you just need time with anybody and with anything. And a lot of those friends now have either leveled up or come to the same level where I'm at, and now we can reconnect at a different level or in a new way of conversation and being. Or they may still be in the same place that they were at before, and that's okay too. And you just keep moving on and moving beyond that. So yeah, that's kind of essentially how I like to, or would suggest to people is it's okay to let go, and it's also giving people space and an opportunity to level up on their own.
Yeah, I couldn't have said that better, mate, because I think that when you start leading as a friend, as a family member, as a partner or whatever, the other person tends to kind of step up with you because they don't kind of really want to get left behind. So maybe you're in a friendship group and you are the lone wolf that goes and does yoga and goes to the gym or whatever, but you'll probably more than likely find that actually people will start to kind of click and start to follow and be like, oh, right, okay, maybe this isn't the life. Maybe Jake or Thyag or whoever is actually living the life that brings happiness. So I think that's really important, mate, for sure.
Just to kind of reiterate to your point, sorry to jump in there, Jake, is,
Okay.
I mean, look at how you and I organically connected. I mean, dude, you were in a holiday in Cape Town, visiting South Africa. You came to a yoga class. You didn't know the teacher, which was me, and we just hit it off. So I think it's also having that openness to life now, and trust within yourself also as you're going down this healing journey. And how that trust also starts to happen is when you start to have confidence in your body and in a healthy way. So again, what the yoga has done for me is, dude, like I feel very grounded when I stand on my own 2 feet. I can now balance on one leg. I couldn't do that 7 years ago, with different limitations and restrictions. But with the consistency, things started to happen. My body started to level up. My mind started to level up. And then the people around me started to level up as well. So it's the really surreal but sweet journey. And I know to your listeners out there, there are going to be times where you are going to feel you are alone. But the most important thing is not to feel alone. It's okay to be alone, but not to have that cessation or that fear of being lonely, because you're never alone. You're always surrounded by good people and positivity. It's just a matter of perspective of how you choose to look at it and see it around you. Because, I mean, you can turn the TV on and put the news on. There's a whole lot of shit going on every day,
Yeah.
bro. But I choose not to dive into it.
Me too. Me too. I think that going into whenever I have free time to myself, I always try and put myself in rooms that I know like-minded people are going to be in, like yoga, for example, or a coffee shop, or sometimes I'll pop down the library or go to an art gallery, or just like stuff that you can do alone, but you may bump into someone that you may become friends with. Like you said, look at you and I. Like, I walked into the yoga class and we connected straight away. And the sound healing as well. I want to touch on the sound healing because I've been excited about it for a while. Like, I like, for anyone listening, like, what is Himalayan sound? I'm probably going to mess up. Himalayan sound bowl healing, is that right?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. So I know you touched on this a little bit earlier in terms of, you know, the way I scan the bowls over you. So there are two different types of sound bowl therapies that you would normally experience. So the first is crystal sound bowls. So those are the white glass bowls that you experience, would also have a really beautiful frequency and resonance to it. And then there are the Tibetan or the Himalayan sound bowls, which are the copper looking bowls. And then in addition to that, you also have the gong therapy, which are those big, large circular gongs that give off a really powerful frequency as well. So the modality that I work with is specifically the Himalayan sound bowls, which I picked up in Thailand. And the story behind it is these bowls have the 7 different metal elements in them. So copper, gold, zinc, a little bit of mercury, and all of that in them. And similarly, we have those same elements within us in our body. The people who would practice sound therapy back in the day in Nepal and in ancient India, they were regarded as shamans. So they would travel from village to village, healing people using sound, because they recognize that we are vibrational beings and we are energetic beings. And then within us, over and above that, we're about 70 to 80% water. So if you throw a pebble in a still lake, you will see the ripples and the vibration starting to happen in that water. Now, we are 70 to 80% water, and you've experienced this when you strike a sound bowl and when you bring that copper bowl over your body, it starts to harmonize and bring that body back into its true resonant frequency. So in the ancient and Indian philosophy, we talk about what we call chakras. In maybe the Zen or the Chinese medicine, they call it the Qi or the Dantian. So it varies. So in Indian philosophy, we believe that there are 7 chakra systems in the body. And what tends to happen is these chakras get out of balance. And when these chakras get out of balance, what typically starts to happen, we may experience some anxiety, some fear, or whatever that negative feeling is. But when you when you go into a sound therapy session, what starts to happen is each of these bowls have a resonant frequency to each of these chakras, and they help bring the body back into alignment and balance. So think of it as, if you're experiencing a negative polarity, it's not that you are a negative person or there's anything negative wrong with you. It's just that in this moment, you could have maybe had a challenging conversation with your boss or your spouse or whatever it may be, and it just may be giving you a little bit of a pit in your stomach, and maybe it's carrying on for like a day or two. But then you come into a sound therapy session, what starts to happen is these frequencies start to realign the body and re-energize the body and bring it back into harmony. So specifically with the copper bowls, what's great about them versus the crystal bowls, because they're so large, the copper bowls, you can actually bring them over the body and scan the bowl literally over the body, which gives off a beautiful resonant frequency and then helps bring the body back into alignment. With these bowls, I mean, you experience it one side from a group sound therapy session. but then we can also incorporate harmonizing. So with each of the chakra points, each point is also associated with a sound. So for example, your third eye is associated with the sound of Om, which many people are familiar with if you practice yoga or, into the Eastern or Indian philosophies of yoga. There's that one big Om. So your root chakra is Ram, your sacral chakra is Vam. And so you can chant, and as I strike the bowl, you just go Om, and you feel the same resonant frequency. So you're chanting it, you're feeling the vibration within yourself from a sound perspective, but then also receiving it externally with the bowls as well. So the bowls are extremely powerful, in my opinion. They can provide profound relaxation. They can help with resetting the brain waves. They bring the body into what we call a beautiful theta brainwave state. So where you're lying and you feel your body is extremely heavy, you can't move it, but you're still aware of what's going around you and your surroundings, but you're in a very, very relaxed state. And as you know, with many people who have experienced trauma and addiction, we find it typically hard to get into that relaxed state. So when you're in this controlled environment and you are giving yourself permission to relax with the facilitator guiding you on this process, it can be very, very profoundly healing. And it's something that will stay in your body for, at least a week if you, again, maintain that healthy lifestyle and mindset as well. So yeah, I
loved it. I absolutely loved it, mate. And it was on the full moon as well when we did ours. So I was like a bit emotional. I was all over the show that day, but it definitely did its job, man. And like for the people that are listening, like going through an addiction as such, like what benefits does sound healing have to someone that may be going through addiction, if you know?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just a matter of realigning the body from an energetic standpoint, resetting the brain waves as well. So I would say for someone who is in an addiction mindset right now, it would be great to go for group sound sessions because number one, again, you'd meet like-minded people or people who are also looking to make themselves better, and then also go to an actual one-on-one session where, again, when I have my one-on-ones, I actually place the bowls on specific areas in the body so you can go a little bit deeper with the person as well. And then prior to that as well, I will have a conversation, ask a few questions, in terms of where you're feeling certain sensations, how does it feel? And then I also incorporate a little bit of breath work to help regulate and calm the nervous system down, and then take you into this course of sound therapy as well. But it definitely can rewire your brain, reset your nervous system, but also allow you in a healthy way to release negative energy that's trapped and stored in the body.
Yeah, love that. Love that. I think this is going to open the door to a lot of people that are listening that's kind of been on the fence about yoga and kind of this lifestyle, especially the sound healing as well. I feel like not a lot. I mean, I don't really know anyone that does it, to be honest. Maybe that's because my circle is still kind of in that realm a little bit. But yeah, I feel like it's incredibly powerful. If there was one thing that you feel like you jumped off this podcast and you thought, I wish I said that on this episode, what would it be?
Yeah, I would say that you should start. Don't wait to start yoga in your office or any kind of therapy as well. This is a lifelong journey, and my suggestion to people, and even now as I'm growing as a yoga teacher and even as a person, I wish I had started yoga a lot earlier in my late teens, through my 20s as well, which would have helped me in regulate my nervous system, approach life through a very different filter, but still having fun. I think when a lot of people hear the word yoga, and especially dudes, you need to get into a yoga studio for real. There is this perception that it's not as intense as maybe running or weightlifting. But what I would say to you is it would actually complement everything else that you are doing in a very, very healthy way, from a physical aspect, but also from a mental aspect. So yeah, the two things would be is guys, it's not only for ladies. Get into a yoga studio and challenge yourself. You'll be very, very surprised. And then also to younger guys, in your late teens, if you're especially active in sports, it's a great complement to whatever you're doing from a physical level, but also helping you at a mental level with your studies in uni or your career, wherever else you need to be at. Will definitely support that lifestyle. And I'm
Amazing.
sure
Yeah.
you've already experienced that yourself.
Yeah, bro, I couldn't agree more. Like I only started properly going to yoga maybe 6 months ago. Like properly started going weekly. I kind of dabbled, did like I lived in Malaga for a bit last year and I kind of did a class there and I wouldn't do one for like 2 months and I'd like do one but now it's like religious. I go like two minimum 3 times a week and like I'm really into it and I absolutely love it. I've got a class in an hour and a half. I try new ones as well. Like I've been to I normally do hot flow twice a week, and then maybe tonight I've got an Ashtanga, which will be good. Like trying to mix it up. Obviously, I went to your hot. Yeah, I absolutely love it, mate. And I like being a newbie and a beginner, and I like learning something new. And even that mental challenge of actually putting yourself out your comfort zone and learning something new. It's a form of moving meditation, good for the mind and the body, good for the soul. It's amazing. So
Yeah.
I think you're doing incredible work, bro. Like the yoga movement is important and especially the sound healing as well. I genuinely wish I dived into yoga when I was going through my personal issues. So I just encourage anyone that's listening to dive in, try a class, drop in.
Yeah, man. And there's a great community of people I know out in London and in the UK out there with various different studios that are available and accessible to you. And if you're not quite comfortable even going into a studio just yet, YouTube, man. There's so much that is accessible to you and available to you. You don't need a yoga mat. You don't need any fancy equipment. You can just do it in the comfort of your own home and just watch those videos and get on it from there. I would say there was one other thing that I would like to also add is we highlighted this briefly in conversation around yoga and the sound therapy, but I would also recommend that people look into breath work and breathing correctly. So I've been doing breath work since I was 16 years old, and it really, really helped me in terms of harnessing my nervous system and just taking control of tough situations. And then most recently during lockdown, I read a book by a gentleman called James Nestor called Breathe. And what we don't recognize is we really don't breathe correctly. Many of us are actual mouth breathers, which really impacts our nervous system in more of a fight and flight response versus a parasympathetic system when you breathe in and out through your nose. So I've been focusing on breathing in and out through the nose more consistently, just doing other breathing techniques to help regulate and calm the nervous system. And actually, when you start to focus on breath work and then obviously with the yoga, etc., one last little nugget is this body is a temple, man. And we've never been taught how to use it correctly because this body is a vessel for us to experience this life. We can have a really good time on this planet Earth for whatever time frame that we're here. But the system never taught us how to harness and use this tool correctly. And as I said, we're 70% water, vibration, sound, frequency. So when you learn to breathe correctly, when you learn to eat correctly, and with us being 70% water or 80% water, whatever that is, I like to use the analogy of think of a pool, right? You've got to make sure your pH level is precisely perfect in order for that pool to be crystal clear. And similarly, we haven't made that connection that our body is 70 to 80% water. And a lot of people's bodies are acidic. And that's what creates a lot of the toxins and the toxicity from a physical standpoint, but even from a mental standpoint. So when you learn to balance the pH levels of your body. So if you've got shitty pH in your pool, what happens to the water? It becomes green and really cuck, looks like shit. So can you imagine if the acidity level in your own body is all messed up, what's going on inside? So through breath work, through good eating, through yoga, meditation, creating a well-balanced lifestyle, you can really change the pH within your system and then lead a more healthier lifestyle as well from that perspective.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, bro. I try and do breath work at least like 3 or 4 times a week. In the mornings, I will either do breath work or I'll do meditation. It kind of just depends how I feel. But I couldn't agree more. It's a good way to kind of release stored emotions and stuff as well. Yeah, mate, I really appreciate you jumping on. I feel like there's going to be a lot of golden nuggets in there for people that are either in their yoga journey anyway, or just starting or wanting to get into it. Because I have friends message me, like I'm quite open with like on my social media, like what I do and stuff, and I post a lot about yoga, like what I'm doing and stuff, and I've had a few people message me kind of saying they want to get into it and stuff, so maybe they'll be listening to this. But I just want to say, like, you're an incredible guy. Obviously when we met in Cape Town, we instantly connected, and I knew that I needed to get you on here to share your story, and to spread the word. So thank you, bro. Where can people find you, mate? Like if they want to connect, if they want to reach out, if they want to just drop over and say hello, like where can people find you?
Yeah, sure. Best way to get a hold of me would be on Instagram right now. So if you type in THYAG.yoga, pretty much you can reach out to me there. I am also looking at creating an online presence with online yoga as well as meditation, breathwork, and sound. So yeah, hopefully we can connect with your audience and connect online and create a global group of like-minded people where we get together and just breathe and meditate and leave with all good positive smiles. But to you too, Jake, man, thanks for connecting, and keep doing what you're doing. I know you're also doing some good work with the community and with your group of people out there. Just keep moving on, stay positive, and do what you're doing, bro. It's all for the right cause, and creating awareness amongst like-minded people and people who are wanting to be better. So yeah, thanks for all you do.
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate the kind words, my man. Well, I think I'll leave it here, mate. But thank you.
Yeah, bro. We look forward to being in touch, and all the best to you over the next couple of weeks, brother.
Thanks, my man. See
We'll
you, bro.
chat soon. Peace.